By a stroke of luck, Zhang Tai gained a unique ability. While familiarizing himself with his abilities, he came into contact with a world different from that of ordinary people, including the Northeastern Shaman, Miao Gu, Southeast Asia's decapitation technique, and the Yin Yang master of an island country. This is a world of practitioners, where there are shared adventures with friends, betrayals from those closest to them, and opportunities for survival in difficult times. After all the glamour has dissipated, the truth seems to reveal clues, gradually unveiling the mystery of 1,000 years of history. Chapter 1. Unexpectedly obtaining golden blood eye. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wedge on September 30, 2024, Mount Fuji on Dongying Island experienced a volcanic eruption. Along with the eruption of magma, countless demons also emerged from the volcano. The pure white snow on Mount Fuji has already turned into a scorched earth. On the mountainside, countless Japanese cultivators, and National Guards are waiting here. This is a battle to bet on national luck. A middle-aged man wearing a high white hat stood in front and said loudly, "I swear on behalf of my ancestor, Harumi Abe, that my Yin Yang master has a lineage, willing to use his remaining body to resist demons and defend Japan." An elderly man in military uniform with gray hair stood beside him, his slightly cloudy eyes filled with determination. "Fight to the death for the empire." Countless Japanese soldiers shouted in unison behind them, "Fight to the death for the empire." At this moment, a small mountain-tall snake with 8 heads had slowly emerged from the temporal and spatial cracks at the volcano. Accompanied by magma and thick smoke, he spewed out words. "You are all going to die." This turned out to be the legendary monster, the 8-legged snake. The 8 heads of the big snake looked down at the foot of the mountain, and its big mouth suddenly opened, spewing out blazing flames. Countless imperial soldiers and cultivators with insufficient cultivation were instantly burned to ashes. "Let's go." 4 teenagers dressed as high school students from the island country stepped forward. "Anyway, this country and this world cannot be defiled by your demon world." As they spoke, they rushed towards the 8-branched snake at the volcano like chicken blood. Suddenly, a blue light flashed through the slanted thorn, and a creature with an ugly appearance, resembling a human or non-human, suspended in mid-air. With just a casual wave, the 4-person group, who had just been full of fighting spirit, was knocked out from afar, unaware of whether they were alive or dead. This is not a place for your children to play around. The entire Kyoto is trembling with unprecedented earthquakes and tsunamis. Is it true that Dongying Island will sink like this? Countless island citizens rushed onto the streets, desperate to look towards Mount Fuji, where there was their last hope. At the entrance of a shrine's archway, an old woman with a hunched body and a wrinkled face looked towards Mount Fuji and whispered silently. "Shantung, it's up to you." The owner of a convenience store, watching the real-time news broadcast on TV, was so nervous that he couldn't even hold the glass in his hand. "I keep praying in my heart, Jiro, come on." In a ward, a dying woman lay on the hospital bed, wearing oxygen equipment on her face, but her eyes were fixed on the TV screen, wondering what she was thinking. At the top of Mount Fuji, countless monsters that do not belong to this world flow with magma and rush down the mountain. Facing the brave warriors who have sworn to defend the island is like facing a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. 3 young people, standing out of thin air, seem to have made up their minds in the face of the surging tide of monsters and the invincible 8-legged snake. "Come on, this may be the final battle for humanity." They rushed forward without hesitation, heading towards an unknown fate. But at this moment, a flash of lightning struck and a demon god with a long head and 2 horns descended into the world. This moment has finally arrived, and the 3 of them, facing the power of the demon god, cannot move forward any further. The demon god let out a terrifying laughter of jia jia jia, his eyes shining with blue light. After the light passed, the figures of the 3 disappeared, and what they left in the world was the powerless and endless sadness. This is not a heavyweight at all. When people were already desperate and could only lie on the ground praying to the gods, the demon god opened another door to time and space, and several figures emerged from the door, also floating in the air. The leading middle-aged man, dressed in a suit and unable to see his face clearly, said, "Hey, this is not your story from Japan. When will the world need you scumbags to guard?" The 8 great snakes saw the new arrivals and their 8 huge heads rushed towards the gate of time and space. A seedling sword, with its shadow fluttering in mid-air like a skilled weaver girl embroidering flowers. In an instant, 8 huge snake heads all fell down, leaving only 8 necks without heads. The invincible non-human creature that just flew 4 high school students, facing this way, shimmering with blue light all over. Behind the man in the suit, a middle-aged woman with curly hair took a step forward, her body shining with golden light. A golden shadow, not knowing whether it was a fox or a wolf, suddenly rushed out of her body and charged towards the non-human monster. The tall body of the monster was gradually melted under the impact of the golden shadow. The golden light dissipated, leaving no trace of the monster. In the golden light, a snow-white beauty as big as a palm appeared. The leading man who walked out of the gate of time and space stood in opposition to the tall demon god who walked out of the cracks in time and space beneath the magma. The demon said, "You are not my opponent." The leading man said, "The demon world is not under my jurisdiction either. As long as I hold you back for a moment, there will naturally be someone to deal with you." After speaking, the man's left eye emitted a beam of apocalyptic light, and the arrogant demon god lifted his hands, but it seemed difficult to block it. Is it a demon god? I didn't expect to have a day when I had to let go of the demon god. The leading man seemed to be reminiscing about the past, with many emotions. 14 years, a long time, and it seems like it was yesterday. It was a snowy winter. The snow outside the window has been accumulating thicker and thicker for 3 consecutive days, and the small town in the north has been covered with a layer of white silver. Zhang Tai sat at the computer desk leaning against the window, looking somewhat bewildered at the snowflakes falling like goose feathers outside the window. In earlier years, I might have been interested in going out and playing with friends in such weather. Even in such weather, sitting together with 3 or 5 friends, drinking, eating hot pot, and chatting is definitely a kind of enjoyment. Unfortunately, he no longer has that kind of mood now. Liaocheng is a small town in the Qianbai province of northern China. The town has a small area and a small population, but during festivals, it seems like everyone doesn't have to go out to work. The streets are always crowded with people preparing various New Year's goods. He grew up in a small town from a young age and started his own business after graduating from university. He once dreamed of leaving this small hometown. But only when children who have left home experience setbacks outside and return to their hometown can they feel the warmth brought by the so-called home, even in this snowy winter. It's less than a month until the spring festival in 2010. Although he's unemployed and at home, he still drives his computer every day and aimlessly browses various information on the internet, hoping to find opportunities for him to turn things around. Zhang Tai stood up with fluffy hair and moved his numb body that had already been sitting. At 28 years old, while lamenting the hardships of life, he couldn't help but sigh that as he grew older, his body was not as good as before. Although 28 years old may only be the beginning of a person's menstrual cycle. Turning his gaze back to the computer, he looked at the time displayed on the screen, which was 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon. I don't know why, the sky is much darker than before. Perhaps the snow in the sky is too heavy, and the snowflakes are blocking the sunlight. It feels like the time is approaching evening. In the north, although it gets darker earlier in winter, after the winter solstice, the days will gradually grow longer, at least not like today on weekdays. He felt that it was like his current state of mind. During this period, he felt a bit confused and lost in thought, as if he had been trapped in a dark space. Looking at the sky outside the window, I feel that the sky is getting darker and darker. The sun hanging high in the sky is like a lamp in a refrigerator, without any temperature. The snow is still as big as before, and the whole world seems to be shrouded in gray. He felt as if the entire world had lost its brightness in an instant, as if the entire world had lost its power. Upon closer inspection, it was still the sky covered in goose feathers and the tall and low buildings covered in silver. Suddenly, a strong sense of dizziness struck, and Zhang Tai involuntarily sat down on the sofa by the window. Perhaps it's because I've been under too much pressure lately. Every day, besides staring at the computer and daydreaming, I'm alone at home and getting drunk. If we just hang up like this, maybe it's not bad. Zhang Tai suddenly had this idea. When Zhang Tai lost his color for the third time in the world, he also completely lost consciousness. He collapsed on the sofa, but a relieved smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Zhang Tai is not a particularly outstanding person, with no outstanding grades, nor has he attended any higher education institutions. Graduating from an ordinary third-rate university with a junior college degree, he was also in a hurry to find a job, thinking that his life should be spent in such an ordinary way. But his family and parents have always had high expectations for him, often explaining how clever he was when he was young. Education does not represent everything, which was what his mother, who originally wanted Zhang Tai to take over and eat public meals, said. Encouraged by his family, he almost used up all of his family's savings. 6 months after graduation, he quit his job at an insurance company and began his entrepreneurial career. He has sold second-hand computers, sold pirated CDs, and provided computer training, although this does not intersect much with the marketing major he studied in school. After repeated attempts and explorations, and failures, he finally established his first legitimate company in 2 years. Although there were only 7 or 8 people in that company, he was 24 years old that year. Catching the tail of the second wave of the internet era, who says they can't be the second Bill? Look at those successful entrepreneurs who seize opportunities, and who have started their careers based on their so-called education and background. In those years, he and his entrepreneurial partners held exhibitions and worked as a niche information portal, and didn't see much revenue. However, the company gradually got back on track, and the stalls became bigger and bigger. After learning from his predecessors once, he decided to move the company to a formal mode, to seek financing, and to achieve another Chinese internet myth. After half a year's consultation with the investment company and the investors of the economic company, the company finally joined a large-scale internet company in Beijing in the form of project and team equity. The company's main B2B business can be ranked among the top 5 in China at the best time. Although Zhang Tai and his team do not hold a high stake in it, this should be a good start. Until 2 years later, the company was implicated in the investors' industry due to the milk powder incident, and the funding chain was broken. After only 2 months, it was already unable to make ends meet. Whether to choose to resist the company or have nothing, or to withdraw early and at least bear less debt, he ultimately chose to leave alone, transferring his shares to team members who were unwilling to leave. A person embarked on the path of returning home. In his heart, there was still hope that when he returned home, he could marry his girlfriend who had been in love for 4 or 5 years. This was a promise that should have been fulfilled long ago. After returning to his hometown full of hope, he spent almost all his savings on buying a house and renovating it. When his girlfriend fell in love with him, she was not yet 20 years old. At that time, Zhang Tai Gang had just started a business and the two met through online dating. The time they spent together was a rare warmth in his career. Later on, his work became increasingly busy, until he took his team to the capital to work hard. I really want to give this beloved girlfriend a comfortable life. It's just that the two of them meet every day, meet for a few days, and then separate, only occasionally on the phone. He had intended to surprise his girlfriend when he appeared in front of her with a ring and proposed. His girlfriend just asked him a question. If I have married someone before, would you still be willing to marry me? Yes, during Zhang Tai's 2 years in the capital, their relationship was always on and off. After a breakup, his girlfriend accepted another relationship and became married in a very short time. Perhaps due to impulse, the marriage did not last long, and the two divorced 6 months later. But for Zhang Tai, this was nothing more than a betrayal. Although he didn't ask or she didn't say anything, the emotions he had been longing for were also in vain, just like the career that was suddenly ruined despite its great success. That was the first and last time Zhang Tai saw this girlfriend after returning. From then on, I locked myself up all day in the newly renovated house. No matter how family and friends explain it, they can never get out of the haze of this period. Zhang Tai lay on the sofa by the window, gradually opening his eyes, still feeling a gray and hazy place. Did you faint just now? The sky outside is already pitch black. There are no lights on inside the house. Zhang Tai stood up and turned on the light. The sudden bright light pricked the eyes with pain. It seems like we need to take a break and adjust our state, he muttered to himself, shaking his head as he walked towards the bathroom. Looking at the haggard face in the mirror, the disheveled hair, the emaciated face, and the bloodshot left eye. Bloody left eye. He carefully looked at himself in the mirror. On that haggard face, one blood-red eye formed a sharp contrast with the other normal eye. What's wrong with this? I didn't sleep well and my eyes are congested. He tried to close his intact right eye and see with his bright red left eye. Fortunately, I can still see it, but it's a bit blurry, with a faint red mist-like layer. He continued to try to see the road with this one eye and took a few steps forward. Fortunately, it didn't affect his life, and he expected to recover soon. The saying of Xiaocheng is that only by seeing something that shouldn't be seen can one get red-eye disease. Did you just see something that shouldn't be seen by yourself? Still just looking with the left eye. He couldn't help but mock himself. What is this? He had already walked to the living room and sat on the sofa, looking at the cigarette box on the coffee table with one eye. He really wants to take a cigarette and calm down. But what he saw in his left eye was a slightly reddened world, and then he saw a more vibrant red symbol on the cigarette box. Zhang Tai reached out and touched the symbol, but there was nothing. He turned his gaze to the nearby lighter again, although it was also flushed, the item could still be seen clearly. Just a symbol reappeared above this lighter, completely different from the one just above the cigarette box. Is this a dream? He tentatively looked at other items in the room, such as the TV, the vase on the dining table, the shoe rack placed at the door, and the shoes on the shoe rack. Each eye-catching object will have a different symbol above it, which is somewhat similar to Mayan or Jewish. Although he is not familiar with these two languages and only believes that this symbol has certain rules or meanings, it is different from the characters of various dynasties in China. Even in ancient oracle bone inscriptions, he can distinguish some of them. Zhang Tai pinched his arm hard, and the piercing pain could be clearly felt. This is not a dream, so what are these symbols? He has a bold conjecture, is it some kind of awakened supernatural ability? Turning on the TV casually, an elegant female anchor in the news channel is broadcasting today's news. The rare annular solar eclipse that has been seen for thousands of years appeared at 3:30 p.m. today, and the entire process of the total solar eclipse can be clearly seen in some areas of Jiangnan, Huaihai, and northern China. The total solar eclipse lasts for about 30 minutes. This is a rare sight in astronomical history. An annular solar eclipse. Remembering the moment before fainting in the afternoon, it seemed that the outside of the window was indeed gray, and I thought it was an illusion caused by my own dizziness. So it was indeed 3:30 p.m. at that time. Zhang Tai couldn't help but recall the scene at that time. If it suddenly gets dark and has nothing to do with one's fainting, is there any correlation between one's fainting or the strange changes in one's eyes and the annular solar eclipse at that time? Thinking of those characters in movies, TV shows, or comics who possess extraordinary abilities, are they mostly sudden anomalies that awaken some of their own abilities? At this moment, he swept away the panic he had just experienced, and even the confusion and decadence he had experienced during this period had diminished significantly. Mainly, what does this symbol represent? Zhang Tai began to ponder. This may be his first opportunity or maybe not. At this moment, the sound of recycling broadcasts came from downstairs. Yes, in small towns in the north, some people engaged in waste disposal work will ride electric tricycles through the streets, with a loudspeaker playing a cycle of shouts for collecting old appliances, old books, beer bottles, and cans. Zhang Tai had an idea in his mind. The different symbols displayed for different items are either names, ingredients, or values. So he wanted to give it a try. He opened the window and called for the waste collector downstairs. In no time, a woman in her 40s knocked on the door. "Big brother, is it your family selling scrap?" Big sister's voice was not low. Help me take a look." Zhang Tai stood at the door and turned around to look inside the room. "Big sister, do you accept cans?" Recently, he has been alone at home, with quite a few cans and beer bottles. "Collected, 1 cent each. Everyone else collects 5 cents, but you and I will go upstairs and collect 1 cent, and sell it to the purchasing station for the same price as ourselves." As she spoke, the elder sister took out a large woven bag from behind. Zhang Tai entered the room and gathered up the scattered empty cans on the table and ground. There were about 20 or 30 of them. He closed his right eye and looked at the empty cans with his bright red left eye. Indeed, a symbol appeared on top of them again, and the symbols on these cans were all the same. After submitting the can to the elder sister, he asked again, "Elder sister, do you accept the books?" "Take it, I'll take it whatever you have." "I'm just saying, these few cans are not worth my trip," the older sister joked. Zhang Tai turned back into the study and took out some books. The books were not old, even very new. These are books about the internet and business. The waste collector couldn't help but say, "Your book is not old, I can only sell it by weight." Zhang Tai looked at the symbols that appeared on each book and said, "It's okay, they're all things I've read, and it's useless to keep them." He casually perfunctorily said. As expected, after weighing the two piles of books that looked similar in thickness with their personal scales, the values given were equal. Zhang Tai seemed to have discovered the new world and continued to search for various items in the house, useful but useless. Whenever he saw symbols displayed on them, especially for different items that displayed the same symbol, he sold them to the waste collector. After the elder sister left satisfied and fulfilled, he held the hundreds of dollars he had just exchanged in his hand. An indescribable excitement or shock in one's heart. This, the eyes, can see, value. I'm going to turn over. At this moment, Zhang Tai had many bold ideas in his heart, waiting for him to practice and prove them one by one. Chapter 2. Strolling the Antique Market. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 3. Being imposed into the police station. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 4. Expert Xu Lao. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 5. Invited to come. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 6. Chinese New Year. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 7. After the Year. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 8. Preparation for Excavation. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 9. Surprisingly has a hole. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 10. Go into the cave and take a look. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text.